Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Today, I want to share a fascinating and life-saving case. It's actually a story about a 40-year-old man whose seemingly ordinary symptoms turned out to be signs of a life-threatening condition. This story emphasizes the importance of a thorough evaluation and persistence even when initial test results seem normal. Let's dive into his journey. This man came to me after battling 3 weeks of symptoms that completely disrupted his life. It actually all began with headaches, body weakness, and constipation. He hadn't passed stool for 2 weeks. He also had a mild fever. So, like many of us in this part of the world often do, he visited a patent medicine dealer. The dealer diagnosed him with malaria and typhoid, a diagnosis I see too often in our healthcare system, and he gave him several injections. Unfortunately, this treatment didn't improve his condition, but only wasted precious time. This brings me to an issue that deeply worries me as a doctor: the frequent misdiagnosis of malaria and typhoid. I've seen too many cases where this assumption leads to unnecessary treatments and even death. Stay tuned for a future video where I'll demystify the issue of malaria and typhoid misdiagnosis. When the patent medicine approach failed, he was admitted to a hospital, treated and discharged, but many of his symptoms didn't fully go away. In fact, they got worse. By now, he had developed photophobia, a condition where bright lights become unbearable. And also, his family noticed some personality changes. This was a calm, soft-spoken man who had suddenly become excessively talkative, a dramatic change from his usual demeanor. Alarmed, his pastor stepped in and called me to evaluate him. He actually asked me to do everything possible to get to the roots of the problem, not minding the cause. And that's when the mystery began to unfold. During my evaluation, one striking thing stood out. He showed circumstantiality, a condition I last saw and read about during my psychiatric posting as a medical student. It's when someone includes excessive unnecessary details before answering a simple, straightforward question. In his case, for example, I had asked him, "What do you do for work?" His reply was like this: "Well, every morning I wake up at 6 a.m. I drink water, but not too cold because I don't want to upset my stomach. Then I think about breakfast, sometimes eggs, sometimes bread, depending on what's available. My wife makes the best omelette, you know. After that, I brush my teeth, pack my bag, check the oil level inside my car, and also check the water level in my car, and only then do I drive to my job where I work as a banker." Now, this excessive detail isn't just unusual. It's actually a red flag for psychiatric involvement. But when combined with his other symptoms, I suspected there was something deeper going on. One of the first investigations I carried out was an abdominal ultrasound scan, which revealed stones in both of his kidneys. Now, kidney stone is often associated with calcium imbalances, so this actually gave me a clue. With the symptoms of constipation, fatigue, frequent urination, psychiatric manifestation, and now kidney stones, I strongly suspected that calcium might be involved. Many of his symptoms pointed toward a condition where calcium levels in the body are abnormally high. However, when I ran a serum calcium test for him, the results actually came back normal. I wasn't so sure, so I repeated the test, and it was still normal. This could have easily led me to dismiss calcium as a factor, But the clinical picture to me didn't lie. In medicine, we are taught to treat the patient, not just the lab results. The clinical picture demanded further investigation. My next step was to investigate possible causes of elevated blood calcium levels. This led me to do an ultrasound of his neck to examine the parathyroid glands. Now, the parathyroid glands are 4 tiny glands located near the thyroid gland. During the ultrasound, I found a large mass on one of his parathyroid glands. This was most likely what we call a parathyroid adenoma, which is a benign tumor that causes the gland to overproduce a hormone called parathyroid hormone, or PTH for short. To confirm, I tested his parathyroid hormone levels and they were alarmingly high. As you can see in this test result, it was elevated more than 3 times the upper limit for a normal person. Finally, we had a clear diagnosis: primary hyperparathyroidism caused by a parathyroid adenoma. Now, to help you understand how this condition caused his symptoms, let me quickly explain what PTH does in the body. PTH acts like the body's calcium manager. It works in 3 major ways. First, in the bones, it tells the bones to release calcium into the blood when needed. It also works in the kidney, and it tells the kidneys to hold on to calcium so less of it is lost in the urine. It also works in the intestines, where it helps the body to absorb more calcium from the food we eat. When one of the parathyroid glands has a tumor, like in this patient's case, it produces too much of the parathyroid hormone, that's the PTH. This sends the calcium levels in the blood out of balance, which can lead to problems like kidney stones, constipation, fatigue, and even changes in behavior or personality, as seen in these patients. Now, I know you might be wondering, why was then in his case that his calcium level remained normal even after 2 blood tests? That's a good question, and the answer involves some complex reasons that are actually beyond the scope of this video. The takeaway here is that his symptoms, along with the high PTH levels and the ultrasound findings, pointed us to the correct diagnosis. I referred him to a skilled surgeon who successfully removed the adenoma. This was what came out of his neck: a tumor that had been wreaking havoc on his body. A histology of the excised mass confirmed it to be a parathyroid adenoma, the exact cause of his symptoms. After his surgery, his recovery was remarkable. His constipation resolved, his energy levels returned, and even his personality changes disappeared. Today, he's back to his calm, soft-spoken self. Now, let's talk about what could have happened if we hadn't discovered this adenoma when we did. Without treatment, his condition would have continued to deteriorate in ways that are both alarming and heartbreaking. First, his kidney would have suffered some form of irreparable damage. The recurring kidney stones caused by excess calcium would have eventually led to kidney failure, a condition that could have required lifelong dialysis or even a kidney transplant. Next, his bones would have become very weak. This is because too much calcium was being taken out of it, making them sort of fragile and more likely to break, even from small accidents or simple movements. And then there is a danger to his heart. High calcium levels can mess up the heart's natural rhythm, causing irregular heartbeats. These abnormal rhythms can be very serious and even life-threatening if not treated on time. On top of all this, his psychiatric symptoms would have worsened. He might have been misdiagnosed with a mental health disorder and probably placed on some unnecessary psychiatric medications, which would have masked the real issue and further delay proper treatment. But the most dangerous risk was that of a hypercalcemic crisis. This is a life-threatening condition where calcium levels in the blood can suddenly become very high, causing confusion, extreme tiredness, and even a coma. Without immediate treatment, it could have led to death. So you see, this was not just a case of discomfort or inconvenience. Without the right diagnosis, this story could have ended in tragedy. But thankfully, we caught it in time, and today, this man is living a healthy, normal life. This case is actually a powerful reminder of why persistence in diagnosis matters. In medicine, as in life, it is often the small details, the things we don't dismiss, that make the biggest difference. Thank you for watching, and I hope you find this story as inspiring and educational as I did. This case highlights the importance of being persistent in finding answers and never dismissing symptoms or test results that don't seem to add up. If you found this story valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's discuss. Together, we can spread awareness and improve healthcare for everyone. See you in the next video.